particular, I don't want to just say this tradition, but the technology of insight meditation, the way that it works, it takes you through a series of stages. It's like a spiral. You'll go through a whole cycle, and then you'll revisit that whole cycle at a different level. So it's like repeating these different stages that we call the stages of insight. So, like I said, this isn't something we just see in insight meditation, but it is something that is inherent to this particular practice, which is observing yourself, observing your reality. It can occur that you start to see things in a different way. Like I said, that's part of what we would expect as you practice, to change your perspective based on direct experience of your reality as it is. However, there is a danger when you do this, and one of the dangers is that delusional thinking, so thinking that is actually false, or beliefs that don't hold up to the test of time or the light of awareness, they don't hold up. Some of those beliefs, some of those behaviors are things that we have become attached to, are things that we associate with our identity. And so, as you move from a lower level to a higher level, and I don't mean this as from good to bad, I just mean as a change, that lower level, which has been your reality, is basically your working identity, gets challenged, gets broken down often in different ways. And that can create a lot of discomfort. It can create uncertainty. It can create confusion. And actually, when they looked at this in the research in hospitals and mental health institutions, and they looked at people who suffered from various kinds of delusions. I'll give you a couple of examples. The delusion that Jennifer Aniston is secretly in love with you. The delusion that at some pizza store, I think it was in New York, I think they called it Pizzagate, there was Democrats eating babies. I might be getting this wrong. There's delusions that you are the second coming of Christ. These are quite common. I would see these working on the psychiatric ward. These are extreme examples of delusional thinking. Again, not good or bad, just not in alignment with reality. So as you practice, some of these delusions that you carry may start to get a bit shaky. And at that point, what we find, again, this is what the research shows in mental health, is that we either double down and we expand our delusion. So in the case of someone being confronted that Jennifer Aniston, in fact, is not their secret lover, whatever evidence that person may present to show that that's not the case, that person will find a way to expand the delusion. Oh, you don't understand. We're psychically connected. It's not, she doesn't send me texts. We don't talk on the phone. We are lovers in the ethereal realm, in the heavens. There could be anything, but the delusion expands. Another example, this might be controversial for some, but the election, the stolen election in the United States, when people were challenged about that, they expanded. They went bigger. They didn't go, oh, well, maybe the election wasn't rigged. They went, no, it was rigged. And whatever they needed to do to maintain that delusion, they did it. So you can see we're very powerful in our minds. We can create anything that we want to. We can believe anything that we want to. But when you practice insight meditation, you get to just sit back and observe everything that arises. good, bad, and beliefs, values, whatever comes up, you just witness it, you just notice it. And as you do this over and over again, things start to change through insight. That's the process. That's what you're signed up for. You're getting deeper insight into how you are in the world. Like I said, you could get it through therapy, you could get it through psychedelics, you could get it through life experience. But when you practice insight meditation, you are literally sitting and observing your reality as it is, not as you would like it to be. I said this over and over. I said, don't create something and don't reject, just notice as it is, what is happening. So as you practice this over and over and over again, you get grounded in reality as it is. And to be honest, most of us living in the world today have multiple layers of delusion. Multiple layers. Ignorance and delusion. A lot of it. And a lot of that delusion creates our identity or gives us a sense of who we are and the world we live in. So as that gets broken down through these various forms of insight, whether it's therapy, whether it's meditation, whether it's psychedelics, whether it's a very traumatic life experience, whatever causes the breakdown of your delusions, know that it is quite often the case that you can feel lost, you can feel doubt, you can feel shame, guilt for the things that you've done or the things that you've believed. This happens. This is part of the dissolution of delusions, the dissolution of delusions. But what happens is if we are aware of what's going on, we're aware that, oh, these delusions are being dissolved. It's a normal response for me to have this sense of low mood or depression or just feeling lost. This is part of the journey. The problem is when we get lost in the depression or we feel that life is meaningless now that it doesn't match up with what we believed. You find out Jennifer Aniston is not your girlfriend. You go through the loss of that identity, the loss of the purpose and the meaning that gave you. It made you special. And now all that is gone. So there's an initial drop. There's an initial negative, you could say, experience, unpleasant discomfort that comes from that disintegration of belief and value. But if you keep moving forward, if you keep practicing, then what occurs, and again, this is like the metaphor of the caterpillar becoming the butterfly. The caterpillar goes into the chrysalis, completely dissolves into some form of liquid, and then is reintegrated, and then gives birth to the butterfly, a very different shape and form. Similarly, when our delusions break down, if we allow for the space to then reintegrate, what happens is we integrate. It's called positive integration at a higher level. But until we get to that positive integration stage, it can feel very disorienting and uncomfortable. And the reason I'm telling you this is so that when you hit that phase, which you will if you keep practicing, maybe you already have, is they call that, in various spiritual communities, they call that the roll up the mat phase, because you roll up, you stop practicing, you give up, you say, I feel worse, not better, this isn't working, and you stop. That is a very dangerous thing to do, and I'll tell you why. Because if you stop at that stage, and this isn't just for insight meditation, this is also this is also with therapy. If you stop at that stage, then you can get lost and believe that this is how it's always going to be. You get stuck. So when someone's delusions are popped, when they disintegrate, when they dissolve, they need to be replaced with this new higher sense of self, this new purpose, why you're practicing, why you're getting help, so that you can create this new reality that's actually based on what's happening, not a delusion, not an imagination. That's where the purpose comes in. So as you fall apart, there's a period of just being in the disintegration, and then you make yourself up at another level, and you have that positive integration. So, I'm just aware of the time, so I'm running out of time. So, take home message: you will disintegrate if you keep practicing. That is a normal part of this. Insight: you're going to break things down, like you break your perception down to noticing hearing and sounds and sensations and smells, all of this stuff. You're dissolving what felt very solidified. You're dissolving it over time with your awareness. That will lead to a state of dissolution, which can come with this discomfort. But if you keep practicing, then you give yourself a chance to reform and reintegrate with this new insight. So that insight can lead to positive integration at a higher level. And this is the step ladder approach that we take all the way to enlightenment. And enlightenment, that's another talk. But I don't want to just emphasize the positive. I want you to know that there are dark nights of the soul. There are difficult phases in your practice when you're going through this. So if you hit one of those, then don't go through it alone. Don't isolate yourself. Reach out. Ask questions, connect. And by doing that, you'll then progress and move forward and get out of that phase and move into positive integration at a higher stage. So that's it for today. That's the Dharma talk. If you have any questions, I'll stick around for a bit. And I wanted to say that next week we'll be here same time. Hopefully my microphone will be working by then. But we'll be here again from 10 to 11 next week. And we'll do a 30-minute sit and a little talk afterwards. And if you have questions from your practice, just show up with the questions and put them in the question and answer, or the chat if you can't find the question and answer. Just put them in there as soon as you have them so I'm aware, and then I'll answer those for you. So that's it. Have a good week. I'll see you next Friday, 10 a.m. And if you're on there somewhere, stick around because I have to ask you some questions to see how the technology was working. Be well. Take care. Until next week.